minute. I'm just looking at all of the chat coming through. So welcome to a conversation with Dementia Adventures. The chat's gone a little bit crazy, so I'm just picking up. Jane Wood, can I record for salfordcityradio.org? Yeah, of course you can. Green giraffes and worms. Hadn't heard about it before. Of course you can, Jane. Jane, you record for anything you want to, but I'm actually recording this, Jane, and we're going to put it on YouTube. So whichever way works best for you, that's absolutely fine. So welcome, everyone. So pleased that you've joined us for our webinar this afternoon. Don't worry, once we start talking, Deb and Joy, we will stop the chat and we'll move people into the Q&A. So we won't have the distraction of the comments making us laugh while we're trying to talk. So my name is Emma Smith. I'm the project manager with Empowered Conversations, which is a project of Age UK Salford. I'm going to hand over to Deb to introduce herself.
Thank you so much. So I'm Debbie. I'm from Dementia Adventure. I'm going to take you through a Dementia Adventure journey today. And I was so pleased that Joy actually had an idea about me coming along today and doing a presentation about Dementia Adventure. But I was even more overjoyed when she said she'd co-present with me because Joy has actually been on some of our holidays and short breaks. So I'm going to be handing over to her a little bit later. And for many of you that's on here, if you've been on here again and again, I think, Joy, you're a regular, aren't you? I think you were on here last week with your Mr. Alzheimer's. I think this should not be a secret. We should be shouting that from the absolute rooftops. So, you know, Joy is, for those of you that don't know, is living with dementia, although you often wouldn't know it. She's really helped to inform Dementia Adventure in what we do now and also looking at what we're doing in the future. And you've been involved for many years, Joy. So a big thank you on many levels. Now, I'm going to kick off today. I'm going to introduce Joy again in a little bit. I'm going to share a presentation with you, take you through a little journey with us. So Dementia Adventure, we're a small charity based in Essex, but with a national reach. And actually, we have one main aim, which I'm going to put on the screen now. We want to enable people living with dementia to get outdoors, connect with nature themselves, their communities, and really retain a sense of adventure in their lives. And we think at Dementia Adventure that with the right support, everyone can continue to have access to nature, connection to the activities that they've always loved and want to keep doing, and try something new. And that's really key, the trying something new. We really do advocate what a person can do and encouraging them to really keep doing it. Now, Dementia Adventure, we've been going for 12 years. We were initially set up by a husband and wife, Neil and Lucy, who had a very personal connection with dementia in their family. And they identified really early on that with a diagnosis, people were often at risk of spending a disproportionate amount of time indoors. And that often had a real detriment to their health and well-being. So I'm going to take you through our services and why we'd urge everyone to incorporate outdoor activity every day. And for any organisation that's supporting people with dementia to look at the services they provide and ensure that there is some outdoor connection within that programme. Now, about 12 years ago, what we first started to do was to run these supportive holidays. We're now running about 35 small group holidays every year. I'll tell you what's happened through the last 18 months in a little bit. But these short breaks are usually 5 days, and it's created for a person living with dementia and someone they know well. So it could be a husband and wife, it could be mother and daughter, granddad and grandson, it could be best friends. We run them in very specific dementia accessible venues, from the lakes to the Isle of Wight to over in Wales, pretty much the whole of the UK. We're not a typical holiday company because we are a charity. We will always complete a detailed analysis with you prior to booking on a holiday to make sure we understand the needs and the requirement of the support that you'd like. And for each person living with dementia, we then provide a member of staff or a fully trained volunteer to support you both to have an amazing time together. And we don't allocate you a person. It's a very much a group setting, so we float about. It's very natural. There's never more than 4 couples on a holiday, and at the moment we have scaled that back, so there's only 2 couples on a holiday at the moment. We run them safely within government guidelines, and actually, you know, what we do is we provide that extra pair of hands. We take the strain from morning till night. Would even do the night shift if that's what's needed. We want both of you just to have an amazing time. Now, we do charge for these holidays, but as a charity, we fundraise to subsidise every single holiday that we run. But for some, this is still a barrier. So we have a support fund for individuals that we can either partially or sometimes even fully cover the whole expense of a holiday. So never say never. If you're interested, you know, please do give us a call. We'd love to talk to you. Now, we did suspend those holidays, as I said, for about 18 months, but we're very happy to say they are back up and running again. And we're planning our schedule for 2022, and they are really all about fun and about holidays. Now, this is where I'm going to bring Joy in. Because Joy has been on a couple of our holidays, and I wanted to share a couple of pictures. I've done this with Joy's permission, because this sitting looking out at a lake actually turned into this. On the spur of the moment, we decided to do a little bit of a wild swimming, and absolutely, why not? Now, I'm going to turn off my presentation and I'm going to ask Joy. Joy, will you tell us a little bit about the holidays with Dementia Adventure?
Well, I suppose I start at the beginning and just say that adventure is different for every person. And for me, an adventure would probably something like white knuckle rides, or as in the picture, diving into the lake. I didn't for 1 minute think that people would, you know, the folks from Dementia Adventure would even agree for me going swimming in a freezing cold lake without a cosy. But yeah, it's just it's finding the thing that really makes you feel good and helps with your well-being. And as I say, for me, that was going into the lake, coming out and just having someone around me to support me. For other people, it might be just a little walk, or visiting the garden centre and having a nice coffee or something. So when it comes to mind, you know, a Dementia Adventure, I would encourage people not to be put off by the word adventure, because it means a lot more than that. Just being out in the open air is an adventure.
I'm so glad you said that, Joy, because some people do see that word adventure and actually they won't consider us. We'll share some more pictures in a minute about some of the maybe the less risky adventures that we've taken. But can I ask, because on another holiday, this is quite adventurous, you actually went on the zip wire.
I did.
Can I ask you?
I like actually to be reminded of that, yeah. Because ordinarily it's buried somewhere deep in my mind. So photos like you've shown, and you referring to some of the things I've got up to, it really just enhances the feeling of what it felt like then. I can't remember, you know, on the zip wire, I can't remember how we got up to the top, or I can't remember very much of the facts. But when, as soon as you mention it, then the feelings of just enjoyment and doing something that I really, really wanted to do, they all come flooding back. And that is so important and so special for me.
I love that. And actually, we took that on board after your holidays, and we're now creating a holiday photo book after every holiday, that people can then enjoy the pictures and those memories for long after. So, Joy, can I ask you, do you think for many people that being able to take those calculated risks, doing those fun things, do you think they're sometimes taken off the table for people?
Unfortunately, yes. Not all the time. I think if you've got folks like the helpers and the people at Dementia Adventure, if they're of a similar mindset, I think the opportunities can be investigated. All right, so it is a calculated risk. Yeah. But if those of us living with dementia didn't take any risks, we'd be sitting in a chair doing sweet nothing. Obviously, you have to try and go by the rules. But yeah, it's exhilarating, isn't it, to be able to say, I'd actually like to do this. Yeah. And the folks from Adventure look into it. They don't always say, yes, you know, you can't go skydiving or something, but they'll investigate it on your behalf, and then we'll discuss it and, you know, come up with maybe not that exact, yeah, but just something that compares with your wishes. Yeah.
I really like that. And you mentioned the word exhilaration. You know, life should be full of feelings of exhilaration and achievements, and that shouldn't stop with the diagnosis of dementia.
Oh no, definitely not.
One of the things we talked about, because we've talked about this before, is actually sometimes asking for help and a bit of support, that some people shy away from that sometimes.
Yeah. I struggle to ask for help because I've always been an independent person, and, you know, yeah, I can do it. It's not till I fall flat on my face that I realise maybe I should have asked for help. And I think, unfortunately, it goes back to our diagnosis as well, because sometimes at the point of diagnosis and maybe a bit after, we're told we can't do these things. You know, go home, get your affairs in order, and and if you listen to that, you go downhill pretty fast. So I'm not saying ignore the advice, but I think you just have to take a risk and say, well, there are things that I can no longer do, but I can learn to do new things.
Fabulous. So I'd urge everyone, I think as you have, is when the time is there, if you need a bit of help and support, to ask for it. I think it can be out there. One of the other things we've talked about is often you think of dementia, you think of older people. I don't think of that when I look at you, Joy, but it's not just older people that are living with dementia. And these adventures, big or small, are just as important for everybody.
Yeah, sorry, I was distracted.
Can I just say, Caroline, will you just pop your questions into the Q&A rather than in the chat, because they pop up and they're a bit distracting if you're talking. So sorry, should have said at the beginning, there's a Q&A function there. So if I can encourage it over to that, that would be really helpful.
Sorry.
Don't you worry.
What were we talking about?
We were just talking about that often when people think of dementia, they think of people that are much older. And it shouldn't just be about that. It's thinking about anybody at any age and being able to support them. And I know that you were really keen that message was put across today.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think younger people should be sidelined. Yep. And to actually think about things that we can do. Maybe they're outside the box, but to maybe go on holiday with knowing that there might be people there, like-minded people, that you can do fun things with, rather than just saying, oh well, I'll head off and do my own thing. I think the camaraderie and the importance of peer support, even when you're on holiday, is so helpful.
I'm really glad you mentioned that camaraderie, because we're talking about small group holidays, which doesn't always feel very natural for people to attend, especially for the first time. How did we get over that when you came with us? What gave you the confidence to come with us?
I think for me it was the little things that I didn't have to ask for someone to pour my tea. I had to mention that please don't fill it up too much, because I will spill it. But the little things of just being noticed, that I couldn't use my knife or my fork or something, and I didn't have to feel embarrassed because I was needing to ask every 5 minutes this and that. So yeah, the what's it to detail, I felt, sort of broke the ice, because obviously people living with dementia are in the same boat, but for things to be noticed and acted upon without me having to keep asking, that helped with the camaraderie. You sort of made a big joke of it.
And you mentioned jokes, actually, because you did mention to me that it felt quite natural really quickly, with lots of fun, lots of laughter, lots of connecting.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I think it can be awkward at first, but once you realise that you can have a laugh and a joke with everyone, it takes away the tension. So, and the fact that you're treated like everybody else, you're not the one at the end of the table with dementia. You're just part of a group that are having a fun time, and you're not singled out, sort of, oh, well, don't forget to take your walking stick, or don't forget to, do you need to go to the loo, or it's not like that. And that is just lovely, to be treated as an equal.
Brilliant. So to you, did you just feel, after maybe a few hours, that it was just people on holiday together, just having fun?
Yes, definitely.
Great.
Yeah. You did. I did. I'm a bit naughty, really. I did take a shine to one of the guys, because you obviously, whether you got dementia or not, you can build up a rapport with some people easier than others, and I just homed in on one of the guys, and that was it.
Was that Jessie by any chance?
It was Jessie, yeah, my mate Jessie.
So for anyone that's not been on a Dementia Adventure holiday, Jessie is one of our adventure leaders, and he is a huge bundle of fun, but makes people feel safely confident in what they're about to do. I think, you know, a really lovely gentleman, actually.
Yeah, that sums it up. You know, you feel safe,
yeah,
but at the same time not restricted.
Yeah.
You know, you can do the crazy things like going in the lake, and you're not, you know, nobody says, oh Joy, you've got dementia, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Which, you know, anyone that says that to me, they usually and Jess was even more accepting.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone was, but Jess was, yeah, come on, we can do that. He was sort of get up and go person.
He really is that get up and go. It can
Yeah.
do. That's pretty
That's
much
it. Yeah, you can do this, Joy. You know, and don't focus on what you can't do. And he was very good at bringing that to the front. Yeah,
I mean, he's great supporting people that really love the exhilaration and are happy to get straight stuck in. He's also happy to support people that aren't so sure. And you know, we arrange activities and people know what we're going to do, but actually on the day, if somebody doesn't want to do it, that's absolutely fine, but they'll be given the opportunity to watch, to take part if they want to, or to just enjoy everybody else swimming or zip wiring if that's what they want. Joy, thank you so much for talking about the holidays for us. There's no one better than someone that's been on a holiday to tell people what it meant to them. Is there anything else? I mean, I've got a few more slides, but is there anything else you wanted to tell us about the holidays at this point?
Not really. I mean, I've got a few friends that have commented to me they've had to give up their driving license, or they used to tow a caravan or something, and they feel quite understandably quite upset and disappointed that they can't do those things. But if I was to say anything, I'd say there's an alternative. You know, it's easy to look to, you know, well, I can't go camping anymore, or I can't do this anymore. But to seek out, whether it's through Dementia Adventure, or to seek out the alternatives.
I think that's a lovely piece of advice, Joy. And you know, at Dementia Adventure, we have our Dementia Adventure van. So if you ever see a white van with lots of grass down the side, that's one of ours, and we can pick people up from their door if that's what they want, or support people to have a train journey to their holiday destination. We can actually, you know, send someone to go with them if that's what's needed. But you're right, Joyce, whatever suits the person, to seek out that right type of support to make things happen. Yeah, thank you, Joy, so much. Now I'm going to reshare my PowerPoint, but Joy is going to interrupt me at any point if I forget anything or if I miss anything. That's really...
You're having a laugh, aren't you? Me, remind you.
Yeah, you did it this morning when we were going through, and I'm sure you'll do it again now. So coming back to this amazing picture of you actually swimming in the lake, which was amazing. It does look very cold though, I must say. To, you know, other types of adventures, and Joy has just said, you know, risk is relative to the individual. For these two ladies up in Scotland, what they wanted to do, this was actually on their bucket list. And Nancy, who you can see there hanging on for dear life, did say, I've done it now, I'm not ever doing that again. But the feeling she got when she got out of that boat was absolutely immense. So it could be something that's exhilarating. It could be for a sailor being able to experience that environment again. And for this gentleman, actually, when we supported him and his son, his verbal expression was quite limited, but he said, I'm going up there. And he wanted to wrap the sails around, and he did that. He's safe, he's all harnessed on. And actually, when he came down, his verbal expression was so much better than when he went up. So sometimes taking part in these big or small adventures can really get that brain working, open up some connections, which is amazing. Now, you know, that's really lovely. But again, the level of risk is different. The level of adventures is different for everyone. And for this gentleman here, actually, who is living with dementia, he'd actually worked in the Navy, in a submarine for many years before going on to being a teacher. He just wanted to spend some time on a beach near the sea. That connection with water for him was so, so important. And, you know, Joy talked about these holidays have to be for everyone. And for here in this picture, you can see Rachel, who's feeding the goats. And actually, she was diagnosed with dementia in her 20s. And we created a bespoke holiday for her, her mum and her sister. So it doesn't have to be a group holiday. We can actually arrange something very bespoke. And it's really important for them as a family to be able to reconnect really properly on that 5-day break on a really regular basis. So whether it's, you know, on a farm, walking, going to a National Trust property and maybe having a cup of tea and cake in the cafe, or something more adventurous, we really do have lots of options. So that's a bit about our holidays, but holidays aren't for everyone because we're all so different. You know, we shouldn't expect that everyone is going to come away with us. But what I'm going to ask you to do is to think about those big, those small adventures and having some connection with nature every single day. You know, taking tea and coffee in the garden rather than in the lounge. Maybe arranging a picnic with friends and family in the garden or further afield. But really, there's some huge benefits for having that connection with nature. And there's actually increasing amounts of research just telling us what those benefits are. And I'm not going to go through all these on the screen, but the research is telling us that 5 minutes each day outside can help with a mood boost and can certainly help with waking and sleeping patterns. Just 5 minutes outside every day. So if we can, you know, make those connections, that's absolutely fantastic. And people sometimes say, well, what does a connection with nature mean? And again, it's different for all of us. It can be just being just there in the moment, just sitting and taking in the beauty and using all our senses. It could be that connection with nature. And we saw Rachel feeding the goats. So that connection with animals can be really key. But connection with plants, just so, can really help with that emotional connection in the here and now. And being part of an activity. So whether it's going for a walk with someone, a walk with purpose, clearing the leaves in the back garden, can really help provide meaning and purpose, which is just so key. So that connection with nature can be one or the other, or a mixture of the three. I'm sure you've all got ideas about what's important for you, but all of these really do add to that sense of purpose, sense of place, a sense of belonging. And if I was to pop this on my screen, so a beautiful bluebell wood, and you know, I know it's a bit past bluebell time. You might be looking at a very different scene right now. I'm sure all of you have a really special place in nature that is really meaningful to you. I'd love to ask you actually what your place is, but what I'm going to do, Joy, I'm going to ask you, does this bluebell wood, does it have any meaning for you?
In a quick answer, yes, because it meets lots of my needs, because I can see the woods that I grew up in, like they were bluebell woods, and they're only a matter of hundreds of yards from where I live. But for me, it was like escapism. Being the eldest of 5, I would take off to the woods just to escape and just to be. And I think when I see bluebell woods up here, it brings that same sense of just being able to be. And it not necessarily needs to be a physical walk through the woods. If people have sent me cards with bluebells on, and it can take me to a good place of comfort and of just being amongst the nature. So bluebell woods have a significance for me in taking me back to good times. And even if you're looking at a picture, I can smell the perfume of the bluebells, and that evokes such calm and just calmness.
And isn't that lovely? And I think all of us would agree, every now and again, we need to be able to de-stress, to walk away from everyday life. And when we find a connection like that bluebell wood, and as you said, if you receive a card with a bluebell on, it can take you to that time and a place. And we need to do more of that. Certainly, much more of that. Thank you so much, Joy. I'm sure you've all got your own lovely place that you'd love to be. But nature is just such a great distractor, takes you to that time and a place. If you're there in the here and now, you don't need to have a topic of conversation. You can just talk about what you hear, what you see, what you smell, what you feel. And, we're not all so lucky to have bluebell woods, but just those little signs of nature, the birds maybe, chattering in the trees, or the bees on the flowers. And people do say, life can't just be about dementia. It has to be much more than that. And when I'm out in my garden, when I'm outside, I leave my dementia behind. Really powerful words. And for those of you that love science, I don't know if any of you like science, but it's just, brain scans here really showing the brain of somebody sitting quietly versus someone who's just been out for a walk for 20 minutes. Because while we're out, we're processing all of our environment. It's getting our brains to work. And it is really poignant, for all of us. If we're living with dementia, so much more. If we don't use that brain, we will lose it. So keep using it. And we'd advocate going out for a walk. So, that's all really lovely. And I'm really hoping I've inspired you to think about that connection with nature. But a few of the other things that Dementia Adventure actually run as services. Before lockdown, we did a piece of research, and it's called Is It Nice Outside? And we asked people living with dementia and their supporters if dementia was a direct barrier to accessing nature. Only 20% of people living with dementia said it was, but 83% of their carers' supporters said the dementia was a barrier. So before lockdown, we know people needed help to overcome those barriers. And over lockdown, the last 18 months, we've been listening to what people have been saying. And we know that not only have people been feeling quite isolated, but also for many, they've become quite anxious about leaving home. So that help is really needed right now to walk over the threshold. So we have a new service called Out and About, which provides local outings for people. And it's not just about having a lovely day out. It's about helping them to have confidence to replicate that type of activity. So it might be just giving them confidence. It might be engaging friends and families to support them. It might be linking them in to local organisations who are doing outside activities. Now, we are piloting this in Essex, and I know that sounds very unhelpful probably for the people that's on this call, but we are hoping to go further afield once this pilot is over. However, we would welcome local organisations that want to do something similar. We will share the information we have with you. We will share our skills and tips and strategies, because we think, regardless of geographic location, everyone should have access to nature and the benefits that they bring. So if that's of interest, do get in contact with us. And we're also running some dementia skills sessions online, and all of these sessions are free to attend, and there's pretty much something going on every week. So some of the sessions we're running are very much based at looking at what dementia could be, some of the symptoms and strategies to living the best life possible, always with nature in mind for us. And from running our Thinking Differently about dementia, we've had amazing feedback. But some people want to go into more detail in certain areas. So the bottom layer here are quite new courses, and anyone can access them. So if you're interested, have a look on our website. You can book through our website. We'd love to see you online, but as I say, we've got some really good feedback for this. And a little bit more about Nature is Calling, because it is online, but they're really small group sessions where people talk about their barriers to getting outside. And as groups, we talk about how to overcome them, really giving people confidence, and people can come back to us time and time again and tell us how they got on and share, you know, what they achieved with other people. How did we do that? How did we overcome those barriers? Let's share it with others. So if you think that's useful, do come and join us on those sessions. And pretty much last on our training, we do lots of training for individuals and organisations. We are small. There's actually only 16 members of staff at Dementia Adventure, but 100 volunteers that help us in our mission. But again, I'm urging organisations, be it individuals or you know, organisations themselves, to come to get the knowledge that we have to do something locally. You know, we're working with currently local authorities, NHS staff, green and blue space organisations, so parks and waterways, and of course care homes. And I don't know whether you've got anyone on from a care home today, but there has been some recent research that's saying there's not just benefit for people living with dementia to get outside, there's benefit for staff. Worcester University undertook some research, we were involved in it, for staff laying on outdoor activities for residents. The results were mind-blowing for the staff. 70% said they had a better job satisfaction. 70% said their morale was higher. 60% said they actually felt they were better able to do their job. There was 30% better staff retention and 20% less sickness. So there's a cost saving. So if anyone's from a care home out there, get in contact with us. Maybe we can help you to lay those activities on where you are. So for a person, we've said these adventures can be big or small. And for some, it might just be stepping over the threshold into the garden and doing some gardening, and that's absolutely perfect. But for some, they might not have a lovely garden. They might not want to go outside. They might not have the mobility to be able to get out on a regular basis. And what I'm here to say is there's still benefit from a room with a view. Can we improve the view? If it's possible, that's great. Maybe turning a chair so the person gets that lovely view. Maybe going over and opening a window and having a conversation about what they see outside that window can really be a mood boost. But if you are lucky enough to have an outside space, to help someone to be motivated to go outside, is there meaning and purpose in what we're doing? Tending plants, refilling up the bird feeder, putting water in that bird bath and watching those birds have a bath every day is just so comical. But it can give someone true meaning and purpose. And only 5 minutes outside can be enough to get all those health benefits we've been talking about. And for others, maybe bringing nature inside. We talk about nature boxes at Dementia Adventure a lot within our professional training, bringing nature objects that can have true meaning. We had a woman on one of our training sessions, and she was supporting her stepfather who lived actually in a care home. And she said, I just don't know what to get him for his birthday. We talked about nature boxes. I'm going to try it. She went to the place that he grew up and picked some heather and some pine cones and took it into him. And she said he went from pretty much non-communicative to full sentences while sharing that connection through his childhood experiences. And anyone can do the same. If we're on a walk to visit someone, we could pick up things on the way and then talk about our journey to them by using these nature objects. Please don't pick plants from people's gardens. They really do not like it. But there's lots of other objects that you can pick on your way. So summing up, we hope, I really hope that this has been interesting to you today. Come to one of our dementia skills sessions. They're absolutely free and all the details are on our website. Come to one of our supportive holidays. We really do have fun and giggles. And, if you're not sure at the moment, maybe sign up for our newsletter and we can tell you if there's something new happening. And I'm going to extend this to you because I always ask for a little bit of help. Spread the word. We are small and people still haven't heard about Dementia Adventure. So if you like what you hear today, spread the word for us. Do you know, if I've inspired you to fundraise for us, we would never turn you away, but that's not why I'm here today. But if you do have time and you fancy doing some volunteering, we really do have volunteers around the whole of the country for accompanying us on our holidays. We fully train you to actually putting together those photo books that I was talking about earlier, just helping us to do that. So if you have some time, please do get in touch. And it's just for me actually to say to Joy, is there anything else, Joy, that you'd like to get across from Dementia Adventure before we hand back over to Emma and questions?
No, I don't think so. I think it's been very informative from everyone involved. So no, I don't think there's anything else to add. Only just to try and find the positive in whether it's going on a holiday or some of the other things that you've suggested.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Joy, for that. That's lovely. Let's get rid of that because we're done with that. Emma, is any questions for us, Emma?
There will be questions, absolutely, Debbie. Thank you so much for that. It was fantastic to know. I've read a little bit about Dementia Adventure. My main exposure to about Dementia Adventure is whenever Joy's gone on an adventure with you, and then I've heard about it. I've got it. I've signed up. I'm off to Scotland, or I'm off here, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that. And just like the excitement when, like when she's going off on an adventure and then coming back and sharing what she's done. So yeah, it was brilliant just to understand more about, the whole organisation and everything that you offer. And as I was listening, I was thinking, well, we've got the Water Sports Centre in Salford. I wonder if like Dementia Adventure offer them training so that you can have those like, everyday adventures in your local area. So yeah, that's a definite. Okay. So that's something. So we, Joy and I did some training. We did a Dementia Friends. Well, I didn't, Joy did the Dementia Friends training at the Water Sports Centre. And then before we walked out, we were like, well, we have to use this centre. So then we organised a boat race the following year. So then we've had 3 boat races since, but it would be really good just to have a place like that, you know, Joy, like once a week there's a session going on in the kayaks or the climbing wall or whatever, and they've just got that little bit more detail around what support people might need if they're living with dementia. I did wonder about like mobility, Debbie, and just like, you know, if someone is a wheelchair user, would that, they could still have an adventure? That's not going to mean they can't come on an adventure with you guys?
Absolutely. I mean, we believe we can support almost anyone, and that's why it's really good. We spend a lot of time talking to people about their needs, their abilities. You know, we ask people to be really honest with us because there are adventures for everyone. We don't want to set people up to fail. We want to set them up to have fun and really achieve. So absolutely, mobility is not an issue. And often, you know, it's us pushing the wheelchair. And it's really lovely to see, you know, I've seen husband and wife holding hands while the wife's been sitting in the wheelchair. And the husband's actually said to me, I never get to walk with her. I'm always walking behind her. And this is so lovely. This is a really different adventure. So absolutely, never say never. We are a charity. We would never book someone into something where we felt they wouldn't enjoy it. Yeah.
I was wondering about that, Debbie, when you were talking. I was thinking, because there is that extra support, it does give families and couples or mothers and daughters a chance to connect in a different way than perhaps they have to when they're 24/7, got to go here, got to do this, got to do the washing, blah, 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 blah. And it just slows it all down. And then you're there, you've got that extra support so that people can connect around a holiday, rather than it just be, oh, well, I really wanted to go on this holiday, but oh no, we can't, because it'll be more of what I'm doing now and I can't even face that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, if support, extra support is needed, you know, for that getting out of bed in the morning routine or putting to bed, what we do is we can hire people in locally to help to do that. So, you know, don't discount that. It is about coming away and both of you having an amazing time together and enjoying each other. That's what's really important. Yeah.
That's answered one of our questions there. Do you help with personal care? So I suppose you have answered that, because you would look locally to bring somebody in to offer that support.
Yeah. And actually, a lot of our volunteers actually come from medical services. We have a plethora of nurses that actually become our volunteers. And I'm not saying that that's a natural progression, but we think we can support almost anybody. Yeah.
That's amazing. Caroline's asked about the photo book. So people, if you've got any questions, please put them in the Q&A. We've got 10 more minutes with Debbie and Joy before this webinar comes to an end. So pop your questions in the bottom. Caroline had said, you know, we talked about the photo book. Is that something that's going to go maybe online for family members to access, or is it sort of traditional photo book coming to your door?
Yeah, at the minute it's a traditional photo book, and it's not an extra, it's part of the holiday, because we feel that people gain so much from having something physical on a coffee table that they can share with each other, but also share with others. So it's not something at the moment we do online. It's all prepared online. So if someone wanted it that way, we could, but yeah, we do give them something very physical to take away.
And that feels to me like a proper holiday, you know, like you go on holiday, you took your camera, you had your 36 in there.
Yeah.
You went to Boots or wherever and got them developed, and then 2 weeks later, it took a long time. It didn't happen quickly, did it? It seemed to take forever. And then you get your photos back, and then you've got your memories again, haven't you? It was like your holiday came to an end, but then you had your photos, and it feels like you're creating that excitement of oh God, yeah, we did that. Oh, we went there.
And, you know, for staff members that don't get to go on holidays all the time, like me, I love seeing the holiday books, and the like Jessie will take me through a holiday and just say, and look, and here we did this. And it's so exhilarating, actually. What I will say is we do ask permission to use pictures. And, you know, we can create very individual pictures. Joy's got a question or a statement.
Yeah, just on that issue, I think for those of us living with dementia who we can't remember what we had for breakfast, that, I wish that had been around when I was on the holidays, because for me, it's vital, you know, because you come home and you can't remember a thing. But to have something that you can show the grandchildren, you know, this is what Nanny did.
Yeah.
You know, that I think it's an amazing idea.
And actually it came from the feedback from people. They were sharing pictures often with each other because they made friends with people while they were on holidays, and they said, wouldn't it be nice actually if somebody did this for us? But I will share the pictures that I have, Joy. We've talked about that. I'll send you the pictures that we have of you on holiday. But we always take feedback from people, and if we can make it better, even if it's something really small, we'll go as far as we can to do that. Yeah, people love those. But we do ask for permission to share these and reproduce. And we also ask people on our holiday to share the pictures that they've taken with us. So it's not just us taking pictures, it's everybody's journey. Lovely to see.
Nice. Caroline's asked me to mention that, so in Salford we have a dementia provider group. So any commission services sort of have a, I don't even know what we do, bi-monthly, quarterly group meeting. And so she said that maybe what we could do at that meeting is we can talk about Dementia Adventures and see if there's any funding that we can get to support Salford people living with dementia to get off on an adventure with you. Joy thinks that's a really terrible idea and is not supportive at all. So Deb Selby has said, is there any more information on your website around the cost of holidays and adventures?
Yes, so every single holiday that we run is detailed. It has the itinerary, it talks about the venues, and it talks about the cost for every single holiday. And each holiday is costed to the true value of what it's worth, because some we're paying more money than others. But as I said, each holiday is partially funded anyway, because we're paying for an extra person to come on that holiday with you. But don't write off not being able to come. So it's great you're going to chat about if there's funding available, but even if there's not, do come and talk to us. Yeah, never say never.
Fantastic. There was another question about funding. Okay, so we are down to our last 5 minutes. So if you have any questions, please send them in now while you get a chance. I'm just going to look back in the chat and make sure that we didn't have any extra questions pop that way. No, I think we're fine on that side.
I think I just urge people, you know, if you have a question, take a look on our website. If that's accessible to you. If it's not, give us a call. And if you just put Dementia Adventure in a web browser, up we pop. There is only one of us. We would happily talk you through anything you want to talk about, whether it's a holiday or, you know, going on some of our training, or maybe an out and about, or as an organisation, you know, starting that conversation about how do I start something locally near me. We're really happy to have those conversations.
Yeah. I think that's something I'm definitely going to be taking away, Debbie, just that how can we do more in our local area? You know, what could we do? Yeah, what can we do? You know, it's something that we take for granted. You know, I'll take for granted that I'll go to the allotment, or I'll go to the park, or I'll go here, and that I'm outside quite a lot of the time. So yes, definitely we'll be taking that away and thinking about what we could be doing more in Salford. And so not just like the big stuff like let's go kayaking, like more like the local stuff. I mean, we do have a few things happening in Salford. So we have a dog walking group that meets every other Monday. So there are a few things starting. So it'd be good to get more into that mix, definitely.
It's really tapping into what's already happening often. I mean, I love the idea of the dog walking. Dog walkers are out there all the time. They're walking. Let's walk with them. How fantastic is that? And you know, people have really been saying they've been really isolated, so that gets rid of that too. So yeah, use what's already there and expand on it.
And I don't know about you both, but I've noticed that during lockdown I know more about the dog walkers in my park than I've ever known. I know their names. Like before, I just know the dog's name. Now I know their names because we stop and we talk, because it was just that connection that we were all just absolutely desperate to have.
It's funny, I know in my area, I know the names of the dogs, but not the dog owners.
I've started growing radishes for one of the dog walkers on our park, because he has radishes every day. Jane, yeah, I've heard all about, growing togetherness in Buell Hill with Mark Frith. Yes, Jane, I've heard about him, and I've been chatting to him about what his plans are. So that would be amazing to have some stuff going on there. Thank you, Jane, for sharing that. So it's the old bowling green in the park nearest to us, which is the park that I was at while I was a little bit late for our start. And they've taken it over. They're growing stuff. So it's a community group that are taken over to grow food and just offer opportunities for people to be outside. Even if you don't want to grow food, you can just go and have a cup of tea and be surrounded by loveliness. Brilliant. So I've opened the poll for everyone, and I was just going to say I'd spoken to someone about, just how tailored Dementia Adventures go, because he'd shared a story about how when his license was taken off him, he was still convinced that he could drive, and through Dementia Adventures you organised for him to have a driving lesson on an old airfield, and he just loved it, and it made him realise that no, he wasn't safe enough to drive anymore, but he'd been able to get that out of his system and just have a really lovely time driving in a very safe space, and it just helped put that to bed for him, that he just had that niggle that, no, I can still drive. I don't know why they've taken my license away. But actually through driving, he sort of went, oh no, I don't think I would be safe enough. But I'm really glad that I've had this experience. And that was just how tailored Dementia Adventures will go with people, which is amazing.
We actually, during lockdown, we recorded a lot of James's thoughts, actually, James and his wife Maureen, and sort of his top tips. And in a lot of our training sessions now, we incorporate a lot more straight from the voices of people living with dementia, their top tips and strategies. And James really does talk very avidly about that moment. It was great, actually. Fantastic.
He's normally on here, so I don't know where he is today. He's one of our regulars, is James on here. So we're in our last minute, so I don't feel like there's any more questions. It just sort of leaves me to say thank you so much, Debbie. Thank you so much, Joy. It was fascinating to find out more about Dementia Adventures. It was brilliant to see Joy in the lake having a swim, which was wonderful. Next week, it's our last conversation before the summer break, and we're having a conversation with the nutrition and hydration team from Greater Manchester. So we're learning a little bit more about how to stay hydrated, make sure that we're eating the food that we need to be eating. So thank you, Joy. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you,
Bye, everyone.
Today. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.